next, we have our fifth and final speaker for today, Architect 𝗗𝗨𝗨 from Atelier 𝗗𝗨𝗨 Architect. Architect 𝗗𝗨𝗨 believes that in today's globalized society, architecture should draw the inspirations from local people and place. Therefore, when we think globally, we must act locally. After being an active member of Rakan Bukit Mertajam, an NGO actively engaging community placemaking, he decided to develop a portfolio of work that engages with the local community in his hometown of Bukit Mertajam. A 10-year architectural vision he terms BM 2020-2030. He was installed as one of the 30 under 40 emerging architects of Malaysia in 2011 by PAM, and his works are recognized internationally. In 2005, Atelier 𝗗𝗨𝗨 Architect was founded, a studio-oriented practice with a strong emphasis on design, research, and architectural discourse on current issues. So without further ado, let's give it up for Architect 𝗗𝗨𝗨.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. It's indeed an honor to be here to present together with all very wonderful architects today. Today, we're going to present some of our works for the past 15 years. This is a context of a practice. I suppose all of you here are working in the same context. Beautiful country, wonderful metropolitan cities, pristine rainforests, great food, but a bit bad on the politics. First project we're going to show is a high-rise located in Sardang. This is where most of us are living. KL has undergone huge urbanization for the past 20, 30 years. And I believe many of you are living in all this concrete jungle, right? And the trend towards urbanization is in the increase, especially in Asia. It's almost double up from 32%. And the density of our high-rise living also continue to increase from density of 60 units per acre to 200 units per acre easily with the plot ratio calculation. And the challenge is also that a lot of developers are also putting up a very innovative units like duplex, Soho, Sofos, and a myriad of facility to entice people to buy in, together with the so-called green to actually market the product. But is that the green suitable for living? So what's next for high-rise? Here in this project, located in Sardang, it's 4-acre site. Of course, many of you wouldn't touch it because when you look at the site, it's actually all pointed angles, not the square rectangle. So in order to put plot ratio 4, we also took us a lot of works to actually get it achieved. The site is sandwiched by the North South Highway and also the Jalan Raya, facing the Sardang Industrial Park, very close to UPM campus. This is an early conceptual sketch, how we respond to everything we can inspire from the site. From the bed and also the so-called the worst scenario is that it's facing a west sun here, and then also a very noisy highway at the back. So the first thing is that how we look at it in the building in the urban space. So we definitely need to respond to this axis here from the roundabout. So as you come in, we actually orientate our lobby and the arrival lobby and also the tower core facing the corner here. So as you can see here, the lobbies on the ground floor and the tower lobbies is facing the main axis, approaching the site. And we put all the big units and sellable units, of course, oriented towards the north-south orientation and facing the Klcc view as well, city views, predominantly. And then the west wing is a bit troublesome, where we have to avoid the afternoon sun and also low-cost housing at the site. So what we did was, we look at the possibility of tilting the units, okay, 45 degrees from the west angle in order to avoid the direct sunlight. And in doing so, we actually double up the perimeter wall, which can bring in additional light and ventilation to the units with the same amount of GFA. So we are not increasing additional GFA to get extra light and ventilation. So this serves as a kind of a new prototype on how to organize affordable housing. The net effect is what you can see here. The mass is broken down into the various angles and with more openings that soften the heavy massing. This is another view from internally or from the pool angle. Another problem is that on the west wing, where majority of the units are stacked. So we look at ways to break down the scale of the building by introducing a mid-level kind of a sky terrace, where we push 2 floors of units upwards to create a double volume sky terrace for the community to use. Okay, it's on the on the east wing, straddle from one tower core to another. So in doing so, it also breaks up the massing into a more better scale and also proportion. Together with the feature wall, it creates a more interesting massing. In terms of the urban scale, it's more legible. And this is the detail of the mid-level sky terrace. The challenge is how to transfer from the shear wall construction, shear wall structure, coming down into this space, where we have to open up the shear wall and convert the structure into columns instead of shear wall, so that the space are interconnected. Then the residents can actually use the space in a seamless way. I always like Tado Ando's work. I always like to emulate his use of this in situ concrete. But knowing that working in the Malaysian context, we cannot get that kind of quality. And if we can, the cost will be very expensive. So we work out in a more creative way with the contractor, where we actually design this series of undulating columns, which has a more of an organic feel that resonates like a forest, kind of environment. And we allow the concrete to be cured in the different stages, so it's okay to leave the different marks at the columns. Sorry, keep jumping. Okay, in doing so, the mid-level sky terrace also continues towards the block B with the roof garden. So we create a horizontal plane on the mid-level of the building. This changed the whole hierarchy of the high-rise project or high-rise community, because traditionally the higher floor units command the better views. But here, every resident can enjoy the views from around the building. And regarding an issue about green ratio, where most of us are familiar with, this is a typical landed housing. There's always a padang in the center, or very accessible to all the communities. And many of us grew up in this kind of housing estate. But as the density calls for higher increase in higher density, most of the residents actually we deplete of the access to green space. In fact, it has reduced to 25% from a typical 6.75 meters square. In order to achieve the same green ratio as in the landed housing, we need to increase the green percentage to 40% compared to the typical 10%. So this is the new paradigm that we are proposing in this project. So in achieving it, we actually dispute all the green spaces all around the building, from converting the back lane of this service lane into grass creek driveway, block B roof gardens, sky terrace. We also introduced pocket gardens near all the lift lobbies. So we achieve about 9,400 meters square of green area, which is about 58% green ratio. And you can see in the model on the top left, this is an early SketchUp model we made, and we work together with the landscape architect early stage, okay? We don't leave until the last minute where we complete the whole thing and then just let the landscape to do the so-called the decorative landscaping, but it's integrated well with the building structure. So therefore, it's more cost effective. And some of the structure of the green space are actually part of the existing RC roof. It's just a matter of putting a bit more design effort to make it work. This is the feature vertical green wall is located at all the single loaded corridor units. So it add in green space and in the same time prevent the rain from splashing into the corridor. And we also place the pocket garden strategically located at the lift lobbies. So every three floor, we have one pocket garden, and even the upper floors, which doesn't have the pocket garden, can actually view into the pocket garden as you go in and out from your property. That also encourage interaction amongst the neighbors, and you don't have to go every time go down to the pool area to actually get the fresh air. And resulting in also the lift lobby is well lit and natural ventilated. Another feature is the hanging garden, which we introduced, spanning 12 meters. People may ask me, is that with adding this hanging garden, will it add extra cost? Yes, it does, but it's not the so-called, it's only incremental because we're spanning the slab between the two existing structure from the existing superstructure of the building. And this also is a planter bed for all the banyan trees, which increase the green ratio of the project. And you can see in the photos here on the right, as if you're actually walking on the ground floor because you have the horizontal plane, which is dominating your vista. It's not the vertical plane that's controlling your eyesight. And of course, just now, Mr. Chan, C.Y. Chan's drawing, I cannot claim that I'm the most hardworking architect, but this is a testament of the hard work we put in. It's not a typical floor. We actually have to work with multiple floors with different variation to make it work. I'm going to show you a simple video of the project. Okay. Other than Unit 360, we also completed 3 other projects with the same client, notably Urban 360, Sardang 18 Residence, and also Dua Manjala Condominium near Desa Park. These 4 works actually exemplify an important body of work for our firm from 2012 to 2018. And all of them have green ratio more than 40%. So some of you who are working on high-rise, do make your own calculation whether you have fulfilled this minimum 40% as our benchmark. Actually, interestingly, in Singapore, URA stipulates that you need to have 100% green ratio in all their urban projects. So we are still far behind, but we are getting there. Another project is more interesting and fun, low budget, playing with containers. I was invited to help to organize a Party Art Festival in Kedah So there's no actually a good budget. We only have one container, 2 containers, and some so-called bamboos as our base material. So this is a model that we made, and we use it to actually communicate with the contractors. We don't have any detailed drawings. So we deal with the site as it is spontaneously. As we build, we design, and we discuss with the contractor. It's part of the like a team building project. And we explore different ways of expressing bamboo using bamboo strips, bamboo tubes, and all that, making different kind of outdoor and indoor installation. Even those, you know, those bamboos which is not straight, we also utilize them to make decorative fencing. These are my Penang team. And it's a hit, you know, when we launch it together. It's the culture festival with the performance. This is a setting of the event next to the party field. And this is the night view of the containers. Of course, our developer clients saw this and caught their attention. So they asked us to look at, you know, whether we can actually marry a bamboo container house with their project to actually promote the units in KL. So they gave us only 200,000 budget, so it's not much. So looking at, you know, whether the use of containers in the urban context, we look at, you know, in Hong Kong or in Malaysia, some of the poor and the underprivileged people live in such a, you know, a tight condition, and containers are constantly used as a repurposed as an office and temporary building. So we actually came out with the idea of a so-called a experimental urban living container house, and it's comprised of 3 prototypes of container house assembled in a quite interesting way, a very dynamic way. So it's the idea of like a balance. 3 containers are assembled in a, you know, achieve equilibrium using different direction, what is made in the middle. But of course, we have to look at it in the procurement. Most of it is actually procured off-site, and then it can be transported to the site because it's a traveling exhibition in 2 property projects. So it has to be easily dismantled after the first campaign. So even the spiral staircase and prefab toilets, we experiment with a lot of innovative products for this project and work with a few suppliers as well. So it's really a fun project. And the prototypes are these drawings here, the ABC, the 1, 2, 3, and also with some scaffolding to sort of make up the volume of the space because we only had 200,000. So the first one is a 40-footer. We have a living room, we have a lounge, a little kitchenette, and also a bathrooms, a full-fledged bathrooms, mind you, with changing space as well and a laundry space. So in daytime, when you turn on the living mode, you can use a living area, watch TV, you can use a kitchen area to cook, and then you can transform some of the furniture into a working space. Okay, at night it becomes a sleeping room for 4 persons comfortably with a sofa bed and 2 so-called wall-hung foldable beds. So these are the photos of the completed units of the prototype number 1. For number 2, it's more fun. We use just fabrics to make up this so-called very chill out space and accessible with the foldable stairs. Of course, you can access through the scaffolding as well. The third one is we rotate it up so that it's going upwards with the 3 platforms sitting on each other, starting with the bathroom on the ground floor. And with the use of the spiral staircase, you can actually access to the upper floors as well. Okay, the highest floor, you can catch a view to the surrounding as well. And these are assembled in like an art installation with vertical landscape, with portable furnitures, and also a beautiful signage for the project. And we work with a few artists on the external, internal, and also the vertical prototype as well. And this is the end result prior to launching, well lit and nice to visit as a kind of like a showroom as well as art installation. Of course, it had to move to a second site in Unit 360 after the first campaign. So this shows that it's easily can be transported and reassembled for the next project, for the next campaign. Okay, over the years, we also done a lot of containers prototypes. It almost can build a so-called miniature city already, but most of them are unbuilt. Okay, the next one is not the container box, but industrial box. This is located in Bukit Minyak in Penang, industrial park area. Of course, factory buildings, sometimes you don't have anything to respond other than yourself, because everyone is just building in this pre-planned grid industrial park. So there's not much of a context for you. So how do you find inspiration for the project? Of course, typically in the factory, the client will ask you to just plan out the production areas, the storage, the office. Here we try to streamline the whole process carefully and also make it more compact so that it saves more space. This is the 7-acre site, and the meshing and every function is planned precisely with the correct flow, with the input of raw material and output of the finished product. They manufacture oats products to be exported to 60 over countries. So they need a very large warehouse. And this shows the process flows from the raw material through the 7-story manufacturing plant. So with the automated manufacturing technology, you actually can go up and down, with the conveyor belt. It's no longer the traditional floor-by-floor kind of manufacturing process. So we work with the machine builder and the engineer to actually coordinate all the floor opening so that all these slabs are actually accessible through the floor slabs. And we had a hard time also convincing Bomba that it is fire hazard free, because there were no operators, they're only technicians maintaining the machines. And it's also planned for future expansion with the phase 2 and phase 3 slab ready for future. These are the photos of the silos, internal openings, and also it even has a catwalk for the workers to inspect the production systems. Of course, working in the factory environment, most of the workers are working in the indoor environment for long hours, and they don't have space to relax. So we came up with the idea that there's possible of a sky courtyard that allows the staff to mingle around, to catch a fresh air, and also for the office to actually look out into a green space, or rather than looking towards other factories in the industrial park. So the idea is that this courtyard is actually located in a strategic location in between the office and the staff canteen and next to the production corridor. So all the workers working in around the production area can also catch a view towards the courtyard. From the office as well, they can gaze over to the canteen area as well. So these are the photos of the space, and we hope that the staff can utilize it as for the company functions, barbecue, dinners, and stuff like that. So from the lift lobby, everyone has to go through this green space to reach the office as well. So they can also pass through the green space prior to entering the office. Then, of course, the office, we have a simple idea, is introducing a diffuse skylight into this double volume atrium that lights up the whole office interior space. So the rooms without external windows, we also introduce some internal glass panels to bring the light into the individual workspace. And this is the factory they had for the past 50 years prior to the new project. You notice the silos as well is built in concrete, and the manufacturing plant on the left-hand side. And this is the new completed project. So it resonates with the old buildings, but it somehow actually carries its own renewed identity. And we commissioned an artist to produce this souvenir for the client upon the completion of the project, which is now hung at the main lobby of the factory. Because the next one is also more of an industrial project for a solar company called Klcc Group. Okay, we are exploring with the idea, again, the context in the factory environment, industrial park. We are exploring the idea about whether we can design factories Normally, traditionally, they separate out the office and the ancillary building and the warehouse as designed as a separate element. Here, we look at how we can actually integrate all these different typologies into a more cohesive sum of a total kind of a building. The brief also calls for a very sustainable so-called building for them with zero energy, because they intend to produce more energy from the solar, which they need. The idea struck my mind one day when I was thinking about it, and I had this vision in my mind that what if we plan the building like a stealth fighter, where the wings, the cockpits, even the tails actually continue as a continuous surface, where you cannot differentiate which part belongs to which part of the airplane. Then the idea came about when we make the models. The front is, of course, the office and the training center, and the back is, of course, the typical warehouse. So we came up with the idea that why don't we look at a double skin building which connects the warehouse at the back. So there's the idea that came about. And the floor plan, basically on the ground floor plan, you can see the front part is the office and the training center further down. And in between, there's a major main lobby coming in, welcoming people, and then the warehouse located at the back. And in between the two, there's also a driveway that satisfies the car parking requirement, as well as providing natural ventilation to all the workspace in the office block. This sectional cutaway is trying to illustrate, how we orchestrate how you experience the building from the drop-off area in the double skin building, where you're standing in between the internal building and the external skin, and you enter into a triple volume atrium, and then with a sexy spiral staircase that invites people to go up, the staff to go up, encourage them to use the staircase more often, and then you actually stop at the waiting lounge if you're meeting someone there. And then you can catch a view towards the external courtyard as well, and towards the warehouse at the back. So in orchestrating this, we actually link all the components together. This is a visualization of the triple volume lobby and the visitors lounge. Looking beyond will be the courtyard. And in concerning of the skin of the building, where it is a double skin, we also look at how we can actually utilize this double skin to modulate the sunlight coming into the building, so that we utilize the natural sunlight for the workspace. But those areas like on the upper floor, which doesn't have the windows, we actually introduce skylight as well. And in the warehouse, it also can be a mixed use, where those are unused can be used as a car parking for the staff, and also it can be converted into an indoor futsal area as well, together with the rock climbing at the back. So it's actually multiple use. When they have less stock in the warehouse, they can convert into this sports facility. So this is a diagram showing how this continuous loop of this belt skin facade, that unify all the complex program together in a simple manner. And this is a visualization of the skin, outer skin. From the front is more permeable, where you can see the office block at the background, and some are openings where you bring in natural ventilation. But towards the back is the warehouse. The skin become part of the facial wall of the warehouse. And this is a close-up view of one of the space, the double skin. And then this is feeling like you are within a building in the building, in between the two blocks. And of course, at night, the inner skin turns out to be like a lantern, so it's revealed itself at night. Okay, the next project I'm going to talk about is a project for my alma mater. The school actually was celebrating the 100 years anniversary in 2018. So the school board wanted to commission a project to mark the 100 years anniversary. And this is the only plot of land we have when we took over the project. From the existing school compound, this area was formerly the car park for the teachers. Okay, so it's about 1.2 acres. And it's perfect for sun orientation because it's facing north-south. So passive problem is solved already. You don't have the east-west kind of orientation. But the challenge is that it's so long and narrow from the front towards the back, and it doesn't have any frontage. It has a limited frontage. So this is a school, old photograph from the humble beginning, BM Free School, started by the temple committee, which grown to today's. And of course, looking at schools, this is how a typical school look like. I'm not blaming JKR, but I think their brief has been very prescriptive, where they define the school by the size, by the number of classrooms, number of labs, and number of population equivalent. But they did not consider about the social aspect of the school spaces. Like the corridor also is quite narrow, and it's only sufficient for use as a circulation space. So another school of thought is that the future classroom is no longer constrained inside the classroom, but we encourage more students to interact. The students learn from each other because knowledge is so accessible. They can get everything from the internet. So I think teachers actually want to teach the students differently as well. So the idea is that we actually break the school, this academic block, into two components. The front will be the car park near the entrance for easy of ingress and egress, and the academic block is closer to the main teaching facility and the main campus. But we break down the scale of the building facing the Padang, responding to the Padang, and also another side is facing the river at the back. So there's a little addition and permutation on the classrooms. Facing the Padang, we break down the blocks into a more dynamic way to express the future, express innovation, creativity. And at the back, facing the river, we created a series of platforms and spaces that respond to the prevailing southern wind and the views as well. So this is a detailed section of the academic block showing the cutaway section of the classroom and the corridor, plus some this special feature staircase that we created here. And you can see here the diagrams. It's all single-loaded corridor for classrooms, but it's wider than the JKR standards, which is currently now is 3 meters. Okay, so this is a close-up view of the corridor. Some corridor expanded, become a platform for students to gather. So even you are working or you're studying at the 2nd or 3rd floor, you don't feel like you are actually on the higher floors. Actually, you have a certain ground to access to for interact and play and run around. And the students use it very well. You can see the architecture here is a human interacting with the architecture. Previously, you cannot talk to the students upper floor unless you actually climb upstairs. But here, with the platform, you can actually yell out to your friends up in the upper floor or downstairs. And the staircase does the magic, because this staircase, the students love it and they enjoy walking up and down the campus rather than stay in the classroom. And it's landed in the 1st floor, where it's outside the auditorium with an outdoor amphitheater, so students can use this space for performance as well. And the study pods is actually certain elements that bring some extra excitement for this staircase, like a little pause and little meeting point for the students. So altogether, it composed into a very interesting learning environment for the new school. And we try to insert all the green space wherever we can, like in Unit 360 with the high-rise. Here, we also introduce sky garden, courtyards, and wherever we can to break down the vertical campus hierarchy. And this is the highest floor. You can see also it opens to the sky, and the sky actually filters down, the skylight filters down to the platforms on the lower floors as well. And some of other roof gardens. And for the classroom, of course, it's all north-south facing already, but there's still need to deal with the sunlight where we have solar radiation. So we created this extra fin that is using just UAC board. It's very simple and lightweight and easy to construct, and that reduced the solar radiation by 35%. So this is how the school is used, and it provides a very dynamic backdrop to all the school activity. Like this is shown here is the 𝗗𝗓𝗨𝗠. And the ground floor, we open up the space to complement the use of the 𝗗𝗓𝗨𝗠. And from the look of this Instagram's posting by the students, I'm pretty sure that students enjoy the school now compared to those days. Yeah, the posting actually got quite a lot of likes in the posting. So this is the aerial view of the completed project. Seen at the background is the BM Hill, which I'm going to talk about a bit more later on. And a view from the Padang. So you can see here the new extension block, which provide more, innovation versus the traditional school hall, which is more austere and serious. I can show you just a short video how we construct it. I think it's fun. Every fortnight, I travel back to Penang and I see it coming out with my own eyes. I supervise this project myself from start to finish. There's a photo showing the urban garden, which is not completed. I hope the student can take on and further develop the project together. So the architecture is not complete without the users interacting with the spaces, and we cannot complete everything. It has to be taken on by the users as well. The next one is a project, it's more of a religious project called Beyond Faith. Why faith? Because it's actually a charity, not a charity project, it's a project for a charity foundation of a temple. And it's located next to the Sungai Juru. So there's already increasing interest in developing this river reserve as a major recreational spot for the BM residents, local residents. And fronting it is also a public car park here. So we can look at this project as a way to actually improve the surrounding of the site rather than just building, traditional Chinese temple. They want to build a very majestic temple to show the grandeur of the temple. So this is the context. Next next to the river, you have the river reserve, and beside you have commercial buildings. So the client is the One Hope Charity Fund. Over the years, they have achieved a great milestone in helping the poor and needy. And the temple is come from a very humble beginning. So in this project, they want to build not just a temple, but a facility to help the poor. So we have briefed for calling for a warehouse to store all the donations, like food donations and used clothes donations as well. So, this is a typical temple that you can find all over Malaysia. And we took up the job. When we took up the job, we told the client that we do not want to do this temple. If you want, you can get other architects to do it. So the client said, okay, since that's the case, why don't you give us your proposal? So we look at, some of the inspirational Chinese architecture, like the rural villages and the courtyard house from China, which is then transformed to, we have the courtyard house in some of our cities as well. So the idea is that it's not just a temple, but actually it's a microcosm of a village. So it becomes like a community center for the locals. So this is ideal collage we made, merging the project, our sketch, with this traditional Chinese village. It's almost like seamlessly continuous. The idea is that we break down the scale of the building into a few components. So it's like like an idea of a village. And then we also added in additional elements that tie them together. Okay, so the program is rather complex. Of course, we place the temple in front as a mark of respect, but behind we have the warehouse, a community library, a community kitchen, even a hostel for some of the volunteers. And then the idea of the building came with the temple that is actually enveloped with a kind of like a skin that is creating a more humble presence to the surrounding context. And we use two important architectural devices, the shading skins and also the so-called feature wall, like a gable wall, which is very apparent in some of the Chinese architecture you can find. So the temple is located in front with respecting axis, but the rest are tucked at the back, like a synonymous, like a village. So this is how you approach the site at the corner. So you can see this complex with the skin, kind of like revealing it at the back. And this is the front of the entrance to the temple. Of course, it's quite ceremonial. You have to walk through this axis in order to enter the courtyard and also the main prayer hall. We are still in the detailing stage for this, so some of the details are not finalized, but we are trying to create a modern version of the temple architecture in Malaysia. Okay, the scenic circulation also is explored using Chinese landscape to get people to enjoy the site and interact with the site, because we have other facility like the library, the community kitchen. So you can take a walk along this ramp, and as you walk, you can actually look out to the river reserve, and the sunset is beautiful. The right-hand side, there are two photos I took is during the sunset. So you can enjoy the spaces around the courtyard and also the exterior. It's kind of like a bit of a homage to Ando as well, because he likes to explore human movement in the space. The space is not static, but actually it's a series of combination of this experience entering from one space to another. So we carefully orchestrate the arrival, the walk through the buildings. As seen here, as you go up, you can see the gable wall through this screen. And then you arrive at the library. And then from the library, you frame the view towards the rear of the temple as well. And at night, it turned out to be like a lantern. Yeah, everyone knows this logo, right? The 𝗗𝗗𝗧𝗨𝗠 logo is a very famous Chinese architecture social media. We hope to publish this project in the future if we get to complete. Yeah, and this is a nice collage done by my team, fronting the river, and of course everything is perfect except the road guard here lah. Maybe it's JKR spec also. Okay, the last one is beyond building. Other than practicing architecture, what do I do? I was involved in this placemaking in BM for the past few years as a NGO member. And BM is BM town. It's located in mainland of this Sardang, right? And then with the landmark of the BM hill at the backdrop. In 2015, I took a group of students for a field trip. And then we studied the town, and we realized that 35% of the shops are already underutilized or vacated. And as shown here also, this shows the state of the town is actually dying a slow death. Major problem is that it's aging population, urban migration, and also the dying old trades are fast disappearing. So I think this is happening in a lot of towns in Malaysia. And as shown also in the Google map, you can see the town in the 80s actually is centered around the town center with all the housing nearby. But as the suburban sprawl happened, all the residents actually move out of the town center into the suburban area with the new suburban town center. So the inner city has lost its so-called the significance. And that vacuum is actually fast taken by a lot of foreign workers who flock the town on the weekends, and shops selling Bangladeshi foods start to actually mushroom in around the town area. And the problem is that this is the diagram of where we live in the society, in the community, as individuals, with our family and neighborhood. We share the same physical space. But in the traditional society, we all share the same so-called public realm. We go to pray in a temple, we go to the same wet market, we eat in the same food court, we interact with each other, with our friends and neighbors. But the modern society, we actually get dislocated already because we live in our own isolated, gated, guarded development. We don't interact with the neighbors. So there's call for a placemaking strategy to actually overcome this problem. But the problem with the placemaking is that a lot of stakeholders, they are not in the consultation. The residents are not part of the work. It's all these pushes for mural art who wants instant gratification. You know, it's a fast project. You can see the result right away, but it's not sustainable. Another school of thought is actually building community centers. You know, if you build community centers, you hope that the community would gather. But in real life, the community center here, shown here, actually is not welcoming the communities together. And in fact, as I took this photo, opposite the road is all the hawkers, which is more lively than the community center. So this calls for a new approach. You know, we have to undo our architectural approach. From starting with buildings, we have to start with the people in mind and start building from the people rather than from the project. So this is how we started. The fire came and then took the market in 2018. So a group of us, we formed this NGO to start. You know, we actually started a community art festival at the wet market here. So this is how we inherit from the buildings. It's all burned down and is in a very poor condition. So we started a call for volunteers, and we started with just 10, 15 of us, people from all walks of life. We have teachers, we have retirees, we have reporters, we have carpenters as well who help us to build some of the installation, which I'm going to show later. And we, together with my interns, we quickly whip up a 3D sort of design, visualize it for them, and get approval from the city council because this property belongs to the Majlis. And we use it for a temporary art festival just over the weekends. So we start building it, you know. Traditionally, as an architect, you design buildings and expect everyone to follow your spec and the drawings to complete. But this one is a bit like the party festival where we design as we go. We involve the residents, we involve the community and volunteers to give their input to the final product, okay? We are just like a facilitator. We are not the architect. And night before the opening, we shot up this beautiful poster on the shop houses to attract the local residents. And true enough, already we caught the attention from the locals through social media as well. And the festival lasted for 2-3 days with a lot of activities from sketching to storytelling to city walk, bringing the kids, the family can bring the kids for the city walk. And then shown here is the old uncle who showed us where he used to stay for many decades. And then performance, art exhibition, converting the old alleys into art markets, so on and so forth. So actually all the residents came forward and supported this event. And at night, it turned into a very nice kind of retro feel space for performance as well. So everyone is going up the staircase, entering this old market as the festival venue. And all the YBs came to support as well, including the Chief Minister. And these are some of my favorite shots. This is, of course, my favorite shot. We built a time tunnel curating old photos of BM together with this opera singer. And of course, it's not about architecture, it's about building communities. That's the true essence of the project. And we even managed to convert one of the old alleys into an art walk. And over the years, it has attracted new F&Bs to rent out the space. And after 4 years of research, we're starting to see some new life, coming into BM with a new F&B, converting some of the old shops into more trendy F&B. And I think the young people are starting to appreciate the old town better, but still a long way to go. And over the years, our firm has also built up a repertoire of work in and around working with the local community, enterprise, and NGOs to build up the architecture of the local place. Okay, so this will be my ending slide. I just want to share with you a story. Many years ago, I completed a Japanese client factory, and we caught up with a Japanese consultant years after that. And he asked me one question. He said, "Alan, have you done any project near Klcc?" So I said, I haven't, But this question actually resonated in my mind for a few years. I wonder if, what is the the relevance of these questions. I suppose many people thought that, having a project near KLCC is a true milestone or true so-called achievement. But I think after completing these few projects, working with the community, working with the, at the new sustainable issues, I felt that it's more meaningful, and I felt that it's more responsible, and I truly despise the idea of having to build an icon to define myself. With that, I thank you, and that's end of my sharing.